Alrighty, we've got a DT ram in here today that we're going to do a 5-inch snorkel and airbox install. I'm just going to start with removing a few of the components that we've got to remove to do the install. So I'm just going to start with the inner guard and then I'll move on from there. Right, now the inner guard and that's removed and the flare, we're going to rip this standard airbox out so we can pull out one of the mounting brackets that we don't need to use to make way for our airbox to fit in there. So yeah, it's this plastic cradle here that we've got to remove to make way for our airbox. There's also, just on the end of this cradle, the wiring loom clips to it. So you just got to pull the clip off that and remove it. Depending on what model ram you've got, this is a Walkinshaw imported one. Some of these have like a self-leveling module on the back of the headlight. So what will happen is that will foul on our airbox. So we've got this bracket here basically that will bolt into the original points of where the airbox goes, and then our airbox then picks up these studs which shuffles it back about 35mm and allows clearance for the back of the headlight there. So just take note whether your vehicle has this module here. So that's pretty much what it should look like with the bracket in there before the airbox mounts onto these studs. So if you get your template and sort of put it up roughly where it's going to go, and just take note to the main hole cutout, that way you can tape that area up before you put your template on there and mark the hole, that way it goes onto the tape. So you just want to get your back edge of your template running down the back edge of the guard, and then obviously the top running around the top of the guard. That way it positions it where it needs to be. So once you're happy with where your template's positioned, just obviously mark it out. Yeah, if you've got some extra tape, it's always a good thing to just run some tape around some of these joins. Any like mouldings or badges, just when you're cutting it and you're cleaning up the die grinder, like the metal swarf dust can get in behind things. And if it's not blown out properly, then obviously it can create bits of surface rust and stuff. So I just put a bit of tape around some of the local areas of where I'm cutting. So I'm just going to drill a hole into where the marked out cut is, just so I can get a starting point for the air saw. Yep, so if you've got an air saw, that's going to be the best tool to use to cut this sort of thing out with. Does a neat cut, and yeah, it allows you to sort of get the shape that it is. So when you trial fitting the snorkel in for the first time, I don't cut the pinch mould to the right length straight off, just in case I've got to trim a little bit more out of there, and because what will happen is then the pinch mould will become too short for the actual cut. So I just normally like tuck a bit in the back, enough to just trial fit the snorkel to see if it fits in there. If you can see in there, I've marked a little bit of an area where you've got to cut out, as when the snorkel goes in there, the back of the snorkel hits that raised area. So we used to have to cut that bit out from in there. That way there's clearance for the silicone and that to go onto the actual snorkel. All right, once you're up to the stage where you've trimmed your hole out a little bit more and refined it, you want to retest fit the snorkel, just obviously to make sure it's fitting in there well. Also, put some tape up on your pillar, because we're going to be marking the pillar bracket up onto there as well. So I normally loosen these off a little bit, just so they can move around and we can kind of fiddle around with it to sit on the pillar the way we want to. So when positioning this, you always want to just check your door, top of it, and make sure it doesn't foul on this bracket. So once you've marked it on the pillow, take your bracket off so you can stick it back up to your mark. I'll line that up. I've got a few different brackets here. When we send them out for these Rams and a few of the other models like Y62s and that, we actually send a few different brackets that are all a slightly different angle. Just as sometimes the snorkels are ever so slightly different, each individual one, obviously they're made by hand. 99% of the time you'll find that the main bracket that we have bolted on there fits up there perfectly, but sometimes you'll find that it just needs to roll a little bit more, so that's why we'll send a different one, you know, with a different angle. So it might, because you want the base to be sitting flat on there, and sometimes it might sit like that, or it might be a little bit like that. So we just send a few brackets out, that way it's got something there to cover it just in case. Yeah, a little trade secret here. I stick a bit of tape around when I'm drilling these pillar holes out, so the swarf sticks to it and it doesn't go down in the rubbers. Stops it getting down into places. It's a good little work hack, I guess. So once you've marked them out, you want to drill them out with just like a 1/8 drill bit to start with. If you don't have a drill stop, you know, a little bit of rubber hose, something like that does the job well. So yeah, I'll drill these 3 holes out and then we'll go up a few sizes. And yeah, obviously the drill stops just in case like there's side curtain airbags or something. You don't want to be punching a drill bit through that, or any wiring that's running up in there to interior lights and stuff. So in your little kit bag that comes with your snorkel, there's a bit of paperwork, tells you a few things in and out about the snorkel and what you sort of need tool wise and stuff to do the job. As I was saying earlier, you've got a few different brackets that we put in the kit just to get you out of trouble, just in case it's you know, slightly out and you need a little bit more degree on the fold. There's 3 that come with it. One's bolted to the snorkel, and then you've got the other 2 that come with it. In here you've also got your hose clamps, whatnot, pinch mould. Now for the pillar bracket, on 90% of the vehicles we use nut certs to hold the pillar bracket in. But on these Rams and a couple of other selected vehicles, where you drill through the top skin, there's only about an 8mm gap till you hit the second skin, and it's actually a reinforcement steel. It's a high tensile that's extremely hard to drill through. Doesn't matter if you've got good quality drill bits, they are really hard. So what we do is we use these little plastic nylon clips for these because they're a shorter profile. So yeah, just a little plastic scrivet is what they are. So the drill size hole we use for this is smaller than a nut cert. It's 8mm, I'm pretty sure. I'll touch base on that in a second. Yeah, so I double checked, it is definitely an 8mm for these little square plastic plugs. So you just go through, drill those holes out to an 8mm, then we can plug these into place. Once you've drilled them out to the size you want, I just use a larger drill bit if you don't have a deburring drill, just to take the sharp edges off it. And you can just fold your tape in and get that out of your way. We use this rust primer converter sealer. Basically it's just like a primer that puts a barrier around the bare metal, stops it rusting, protects it from corroding, stuff like that. You can get this from super cheap. Repco, most of those places will sell something similar to this. Yeah, once you're happy with your main cutout, yeah, pull your tape off, just go around and deburr any of the sharp bits of metal and stuff hanging off the edges. That way we can prime that up as well. Yeah, so I'll just chuck these little plastic clips in now. You want them so they're tight when they go in. So when you initially put the bracket on, I leave them a little bit loose to start with. That way when you position the snorkel into place, you can kind of make sure it's the right angle and then you can nip it up. So when I put the pinch mould on, I try to work out where the join's going to get hidden the most. In this one it's going to be up the back side here. Alright, well this is our airbox. In the kit you get this oval shaped clamp that we manufacture. Obviously because the port's this shape, the silicone needs to be clamped like that. Now I recommend putting this silicone on first and clamping that up, because it is very hard getting this silicone through the inner guard. There's a tight spot that needs to squish it down, so it's easier putting this on first. So we'll do that and get that sorted. I actually give these two surfaces a bit of a spray too, with something like WD or silicone spray, just to allow the silicone to slip through there, because it is tight and it kind of gets caught on there. Right, once you've got that airbox in and you've got that 90-degree silicone pushed through, it is tight. There's also a wiring loom that runs through there. You've got to unclip and pull over the top of the silicone. That's the best place for it to go from what I've worked out. Then you've got your intermediate pipes that join in. So between that silicone, you've got a piece of stainless, and then another bit of silicone that goes onto the end of the snorkel. Yeah, so just finishing up now and put the inner guard in. Put the flare back on and should be finished. Alright, well, snorkel's all fitted, airboxes in, everything's plumbed up, flares back on, inner guard's back in, couple of cables, we zip tie up just where they used to clip onto the old airbox. I just throw a couple of zip ties around some of these cables that are hanging around the back of the headlight. That's pretty much it for the Ram.